a human being should be not always in his comfort zone. And at times, some little restlessness helps you. Once it goes into your head that you have to do something, then you better pursue it. In fact, I love competition.
That's amazing.
You see, competition honestly gives you a level playing field. If you have a level playing field, you have to really show that you are capable and better than others. You find your niche, you find your space, always. I feel that everybody must use the days of his life productively rather than being the couch potato or watching television.
I heard you say somewhere else, you can rest, but you can't trust. And I love that. Mr. Shahdadpuri, thank you so much for being here today. It's an absolute honor for me to be with you. Allow me to start off with something that's been on my mind as I was preparing for this, which is, how does a career diplomat of over 20 years, in his 40s, I believe, wake up and decide that he wants to become an entrepreneur? What drove that decision? And I'd love to hear a bit about that journey.
Sure. A human being should be not always in his comfort zone. And at times, some little restlessness helps you. You have to be inquisitive. You have to be seeing the new ways in life. So I did not spend 20 years. I spent about 16 to 17 years in diplomatic life. The one could have taken the voluntary retirement and get the lifelong benefits of medical and some pensions, and etc.
And you would have qualified for that after 17 years?
After 3 years, yes.
Okay,
but I decided once it goes into your head that you have to do something, then you better pursue it. So I decided to quit just after completing 17 years of my diplomatic career. And once it went into my head that I have to do it, then I have to better do it faster than later. Yeah. So I gave up all the benefits, all the perquisites, and then started my journey. I quit. I did not resign. I resigned. I did not take the voluntary retirement.
And again, life has a lot of possible choices to it. Why set up a business in particular? Why not find another job, for example? And why not India, given that you were in the Indian Foreign Service? So you've had a career that's been very much based outside of India, it feels like.
Yes. So to leave a diplomatic career and seek another service was not at all the choice or the wise thing for me to do. We are Sindhis, coming from Sindh area of undivided India, but now in Pakistan. So they say that the business runs in the blood of Sindhis. Mm-hmm. I don't know that these things also go into your psyche. So when I thought that there is an opportunity of doing business, so the only option would have been business and not to quit diplomatic service and look for another service.
Was your father a businessman, or was anyone in your family? Was there an inspiration within the family, or were you inspired by something you saw outside?
Very surprisingly, I'm the first person in the family of my grandfather and my father to have moved away from the service to entrepreneurial journey. So I'm the first person to have taken that step.
Sorry.
Yeah. So in fact, all my brothers and my father and my grandfather were in the service.
They were. And you've had tremendous success as an entrepreneur, businessman. What skills do you feel you picked up from your diplomatic life that transferred over? Because to me, it feels like very separate skill sets between what you need to be a foreign service diplomat and what you possibly need to be a successful entrepreneur.
You see, I feel that one needs to develop analytical power. Any business you can do or any line of business you can enter into, except it is very, very technical. The businesses which I thought I will choose were only my analytical skills. while you are in diplomatic career, you do learn how to uh, negotiate, how to smoothen out the rough ends, how to do man management, how to talk to the different governments on very difficult subjects, and how not to get excited unnecessarily or go in extreme ways. So that's the job of a diplomat, which certainly did give me a lot of confidence that I can tackle and handle any situation. And in business, although I started absolutely from scratch, I did not know even what is letter of credit or what are the bank facilities and how do I do my business. But once I set in that I am going to get into entrepreneurial journey, the rest was history. As it came, all the challenges came, and I tried to tackle them to the best of my ability. And today, what it is, with God's grace, we have been earned some good reputation and good name.
Amazing. When I think of entrepreneurship, I think there are specific skills to that, including financial skills, like knowing how to look at a P&L, a balance sheet, a cash flow. There are skills relating to organizational structure, how to hire people, how to retain them, how to train them. And there are a whole bunch of other skills depending on the industry that you're in. And those seem to be quite distinct. How did you learn those skills? Was that something you had learned academically, or had you learned it at the diplomatic service, or was it once you got thrown in the deep end of being an entrepreneur?
The latter part of it. I have invented wheel at every stage of my life. At every stage of my life. Honestly, I did not know the P&L in detail. Of course, you know the simple thing that you buy something at 100, sell it at 110, you have certain expenses, and then you must get something for your pocket. Right. But as one goes by, I'm a commerce graduate, so to that extent, I did learn some part of the profit and loss and balance sheet and statement of expenditure and income, but not beyond that. So as I never knew that I will be able to hit my level of business as it is today. God has been very, very kind. When I quit my diplomatic career, I didn't have huge ambition, honestly. I thought if I make my $1 million, that will be my major achievement. At the point when I quit my job, the perks and the salaries were not big enough in the government of India. And we didn't have big budget. I mean, today India has reached an amazing level of being the fourth economy of the world. It's soon going to be third economy. But in the 70s and 80s, these things were not good. We had adopted socialism in the country.
Indira Gandhi's days.
Indira Gandhi's days, yes. And we had adopted socialism as the economic formula. And we were really not a great manufacturing destination. The economy was in tatters. So at that point of time, I didn't see great future in the economy of India. In fact, that's also the reason I decided to be outside India and not in India. I remember during those days, if you have to travel, you won't get more than $50. Now imagine $50 to travel abroad. You have to hire a hotel. You have to go, and so many expenses. So that was the situation and condition. So at that time, for me to dream or think of US dollars 1 million was a massive dream. God has been very kind thereafter. Once I got into the entrepreneurial career, things have worked decently well for us.
And I'd like to still dig into that journey, because very few people at that age group decide with no entrepreneurial background to become an entrepreneur. So I'd love to dig a bit more into the learning journey. So you come in, you start a business, you understand that if you buy something for 100, you need to sell it for 150. But the rest of the skills, was it about hiring people to teach you, or did you pick up textbooks and learn? Or I know a lot of people, for example, in the YPO groups, they keep on going to learning programs all the time to try and add to their business skills. What was your learning journey like?
So I keep telling my son, who's now part of the YPO group, and I tell him I wish I had joined any YPO at that point of time. I had not even known this. That there's any YPO groups actually. But as I told you, I have been inventing the wheel as the time went by. As we moved forward, I did not know the difference, honestly, between a sales manager and a marketing manager.
Which is super impressive given what you've built.
It's the CFO, there were nothing called C-suite at my point of time. Yes, as I went by, I waded through the tough times, the rough waters, but I didn't find it so difficult when a particular situation comes and really you ponder over it properly and with some focus, you find the answers to anything and everything. Be that on your business level or in your social or in your family level, you do find solutions. And this is how I just went across. I got into different businesses. In fact, I started my business doing the commodities, bulk commodities. Such as urea, fertilizers, rice, tea, bulk coffee, shiploads.
Which is, again, very diverse. Absolutely every one of these things is...
Absolutely diverse. And I picked up more than I could handle the weight. So I remember I got some letter of credit for about $10 million. My total worth would not be more than, I think, $300,000-$400,000. So I went to the bank that I have a LC, and I want a mirror LC or parallel LC. And the bank said that, okay, if there are same wordings in the other LC, then it's okay. But if you want to change even one small sentence or something, then you have to deposit that sort of money. I said, how much? They said 10 million. I said, you must be out of your mind. I have an LC, then what is the use of the LC? So I got into a very serious trouble at that time, what to do, because it was the government contract. I had given some performance guarantee bond. And more than money, it was a matter of my prestige, and it was at the beginning of my career. Now, this is the defining moments of my life, that how do you tackle a situation which is much beyond your capacity? We found the way. We split the LC into 4-5 parts, and those smaller LCs of $2 million, etc., I could fulfill.
Amazing. And who advised you on that? Was that just sort of knocking on every door and asking?
Wrecking my own head.
That's amazing.
I do some meditation.
A daily practice?
Almost daily. And you internalize lots of things. You see what are the challenges and how do you help solve it. There are very few people who will be coming to your help, please, honestly. So you have to tackle your own problems. Now, in the process, you can consult somebody. But if you think that somebody is going to sit in your place and solve your problems, sorry, that's not the case. So I internalized, I saw how do I solve this problem. Then I thought that if I can't handle this LC of $10 million in one go, is it possible to break it into some parts? I went to the chairman of that organization in India, which was a public limited company, so public sector company, in fact. So I found the ways and ultimately did it, and that was, believe me, the biggest milestone and success I thought I have achieved at that time.
Amazing. And so how did you go from trading tea, urea, and rice to starting an electronics brand? I mean, those also seem worlds apart. Tell me a bit about that journey.
So I saw that I have taken too much of a load, which I possibly can handle. Any single LC of $10 million, anything goes wrong, you are underground. So
You were in early 40s then, age-wise?
I was in early 40s. In fact, you asked me this question. That is the time when you can really switch your jobs and career and professions. If you go into the 50s or mid-50s, of course, then you don't want to take big risks of quitting a particular well-settled job and then changing the entire course of your life.
Yeah.
So that is the right, in fact, age to venture out and take the risk.
If I may, before we get back to the how did you get into the electronics, I'd just like to sit on this point for a bit. So it seems like you're saying there is an age when you're too old to suddenly become an entrepreneur, and you're saying that's in your 50s. In your mind, is there an age where you're too young to become an entrepreneur also, where you haven't gotten enough life experiences, or you're better advised to pick up some skills before you start that journey?
I think so. I think you need to understand now, in hindsight, I feel, which in the diplomatic career also, I got some experience after, of course. But if somebody has to start the career, entrepreneurial career, I think he should either work in some good organizations to understand the entire model of business, and then he can venture out to do his own. So I would not suggest that somebody at the age of 18, 19, 20, unless it's some nowadays technology sectors, but as a business, the normal business, as you call it, the manufacturing, the trading. So I would advise that somebody should have worked in some good organizations initially, seen through the entire gamut of activities, and then perhaps venture out. Okay. And not at a very young age of 20, 21, 22. Somewhere about mid-20s or late 20s can be a right age.
So again, trading tea, urea, rice, a whole bunch of wonderful commodities, too much load on yourself, and you figured there was a better way. How does that translate into what you did next?
So I used to be a tennis player.
And still are?
No, now I think I passed that age of playing tennis or any activity which can harm my knees, thumping activities. So squash or tennis or badminton, I've stopped playing. So we used to have some time to sit together with some friends after my tennis game over a glass of beer. Then somebody told me there's a good opportunity of electronics business here. He had that business and he was running into some difficulties. We sat and we said, okay, let's join our hands. We did join our hands, but later on I found that guy's financial condition was very bad. And because we're partners, so his problem becomes my problem. So after some time, I had to tell him, sorry, I can't go with you. So he said, sorry, I also can't go. I said, then I have spent some money and invested some money. What do we do? So he said, no, you can continue. So this is how this fell on me, the electronics business.
And was it the same brand name then? Was it Nikai? Or did you start off with that brand?
No. Nikai came in 1995. I had this opportunity of getting into electronics somewhere about 1991. So 3-4 years I tried out the smaller businesses in any brand I could lay my hands on.
And you were an agent at the time, or what was the original model?
No, I was never an agent. I used to source the product from Japan and do the trading and sell. Sell in this part of the world.
Under their brand, the Japanese brand? Or
any brand, no. Not Japanese brand. Under any brand I could just think of at that point of time, or they suggested to me, the vendor suggested to me. So we went on for some time, and once I went to Japan and placed 2 containers of that product. And for me, that was a big business.
And what was the product at the time?
The product was bread makers.
Okay, interesting.
Okay. So at that time, Soviet Union had broken up, and there was a massive demand in those CIS countries. So bread makers was a big demand. So we went there, and they said, okay, you are ordering 2 containers. You can have your own brand or anything which you think the name we can put on. So I said, okay, really, can I tell you tomorrow morning? So whole night I was thinking some appropriate name. Somehow this name of I really had so many permutations and combinations, and Nikai name just struck my mind.
Beautiful.
And next morning I went and told him Nikai, and then he said which font or something. So we had also thought about it in the morning at the breakfast table with my manager. So Nikai was born. After 1 year, I learned. At that time there was no, internet and the Google and the other things. So after 1 year, I found out that Nikai name already exists.
Oh wow!
I said this is not good news. So I just found out what are they dealing in. So there are different classes for various products. So our business comes into 2-3 classes, which is 7, 9, and 11. This gentleman who was having Nikai, they were dealing in some precision tools. So I really approached them, went to their office, and I saw a very dingy office, not really very professional. I asked them, what do you do? They said, we are in small precision tools. I said, is Nikai your brand? They say, yes. Are you doing very well? They said, not so much. So I told them, would you like to sell your brand? You can continue to do your precision equipments. Somehow they agreed on some payment, small payment, not big payment. They agreed. I took it. Then I started registering all over the world. And now we own this brand worldwide.
Amazing. So to me, there's two separate tracks I'd love to follow, but I'll start with one, which is, even at that time, electronics felt like a super competitive market. The Japanese were in it, the Chinese were in it, the Koreans were in it, the Americans had brands. So when I think of a business opportunity, I would have never thought electronics. And then I know a lot of people in the UAE made a lot of money becoming agents for very well-known electronics brands, but there's a whole added level of complexity when you want to create your own brand, because beyond the sourcing and the manufacturing, you have to build the brand and build the trust. So again, tell me a bit about where you felt you'd find the space in that very complex market, and why and how building your own brand made sense, as opposed to going and becoming, the agent like a lot of people became, of a JVC or a Sony or an equivalent at that time.
So when I came to Dubai, all these brands were taken up. There were agents and distributors for each and every single brand. So I had no option except to go in for my own brand.
And how did you think you'd compete with all these brands that are so super powerful globally? Bless you.
So for me, the story is very simple. There's always competition in every single line. Mm-hmm. At the same time, there is a certain pie for every single line of business. Today, whether it's hotel business, whether it's trading of electronics, whether it's FMCG business, whether it's any type of business. Now, are you capable of squeezing out and having some small portion? At the beginning, having 1% or below 1% makes your deal. Now, if you are capable to really elbow in your way, have 2%, it means you have 100% growth. And you don't need 100% growth every year. So there is a pie, It's up to you how you can secure your portion. So I find opportunity in any and every type of business, as long as you have capability to have some small portion and then widen the field of your activity.
And when you think about Nikai, what's the competitive advantage or brand association? So as a consumer, who would turn to Nikai and why when on the shelves there's so many other brands that are available to me?
So normally I suppose that any major brand has a number of items of expenses. If you work like I did, very lean and thin and agile, I knew that I can sell a good quality product, almost same as the big brands.
Manufactured by third parties. So
Manufactured by third parties, OEMs. And I can give value to the consumer by giving him competitive price and some exceptional service, after sales service, what they call it.
And you were selling direct to consumer, or you were selling to the retail and
to the retail.
Okay.
So we were distributing to the retail.
Yeah.
So I see that you always have a huge opportunity. Imagine Sony has its own expenses sitting in Japan, or Panasonic, or JVC at that time, or Sanyo, or Toshiba. Today we surpass the sales of all these brands in my line of business.
Amazing.
We are really number 3 in many markets after Samsung and LG. And sometimes there's a competition even in the top 2 brands also. So I knew I must control my expenses and be competitive. The other thing which people perhaps lose sight of is that how do you give extraordinary or exceptional service to the consumer? Our turnaround time for repair for about 87% is in 1 day.
Brilliant.
I know after the electronics, they do develop some problem, any electronics for that matter, including all the top brands. So how do you turn around and give satisfaction and pleasure to the consumer? And this word of mouth goes a big way in developing your business. Yeah. So we have become regional really leaders in our line of business thanks to various strategies which we have now adopted. Now I have all sorts of professionals, whether they are from the Indian Institute of Management, IIM, or IIT, or from American educated or from European educated professionals. Now I can afford.
Yeah, I mean, it's a truly extraordinary story that you got into such a competitive market with such large players vying for every bit of market share, and you were able not only to get some market share, but to continually grow the business and, in fact, knock them out. And that's...
In fact, I love competition.
That's amazing.
You see, competition honestly gives you a level playing field. If you have a level playing field, you have to really show that you are capable and better than others. And you always have, you find your niche, you find your space, always. And if you are able to understand where to get into the competition, and as I said today, my main story is exceptional service, because I am not a manufacturer directly myself. We do have some molds and other things, but other things remaining the same, what value addition can I give to the consumer? And that speaks the story of success.
And what type of a entrepreneur leader were you or are you? I know some entrepreneur leaders are very much sales driven. They're all about being out there, speaking to their customers. Others are very sort of operational, HR focused. Others prefer to sit sort of in the CEO office and strategize and keep away. Where was your comfort spot as you were building all of this?
You know, you have to be pretty comprehensive. I mean, you can't have only strong salesperson, not looking after the after-sales service, or looking after the competitive price, or looking after where are you placing your product. So you have to be a very wholesome strategy person, and really think of all the sides, including your finances. In fact, sometimes you may overdo, and the things can go out of your control. Sometimes the environment may not help you. Imagine COVID coming in. Imagine 2008 financial tsunami coming in. When the things went down, the prices went down, the markets went down. Y2K problem, or the 9/11 situation, when the markets were down, stock markets were down, people's capacity to buy the things were down, purchasing power was down. So you have to cater for all the situations. And therefore, you have to be a very comprehensive person rather than having the expertise only in one domain.
You mentioned a partnership early on that didn't go well. What has that lesson taught you about partnerships in general, and what do you tell your children? I mean, do you own your business now 100% between the family? And I know some people have had very successful long-term partnerships. I interviewed the Al Shirawi, Mr. Mohan Valrani group recently, and they've been in a multi-generational, multi-family partnership that's worked. What's your philosophy when it comes to partnership today?
You see, Mohan Valrani himself and his children are good friends of our family. I really admire that they have been able to succeed in sustaining the partnership. I find it sometimes pretty difficult. There are many, many examples of partnerships in UAE among the Indians to Indians, or Indians to the locals. I don't see many examples where these partnerships succeeded. I'm being very frank to tell you. So partnerships are good as long as you have people who are respecting each other's. You can't go with everybody's same views. It's very difficult to have identical views.
Right.
But as long as you understand how to handle the partnership, how to respect it, how to give space to the people, to your partner, ignore something which is pricky. Unless you get that type of partner, I honestly would not advise otherwise. If you are able to get a very good partner, understanding, who respect each other, who give space to you and to your thoughts, great. Otherwise, sometimes going your own way is not a bad idea.
You mentioned multiple challenges along the years. You said everything from COVID to 9/11, obviously to a partnership breaking up early in your career. When you think about the toughest of those situations, so where do you feel your business was most at risk, and how did you handle that situation?
You see, as an entrepreneur, as a good entrepreneur, successful if at all you call it, he should not depend either upon one market or one customer or one product only. So we therefore saw that going only into electronics, is that the beginning and end of my career? No. So we diversified. I have two children. First of all, I told my son that I am in the trading, because that was the only opportunity I saw at that point of time. But I would want my son to get into some services, possibly into the IT sector. At that time, in late 90s and early 2000, that was the great opportunity. He did pursue, he attempted, he didn't do very well in the beginning, but then he got into a line, and today, alhamdulillah, he is very successful, and is driving one of the biggest companies in its field. Same is with my daughter. She was a doctor.
Medical doctor.
She's a medical doctor. She's postgraduate in pediatrics. Then she did her post-graduation in healthcare, MBA. She has been doing very good job in USA, but somehow we thought that let this family be together in the same place. Only 2 children, and it's not a very big family. So I consulted her and I told her whether she would like to join me here. As I said, business runs into our blood. So now she has joined me as managing director of Nikai Group. She's doing
that's also
well.
a massive transition from a doctor to a managing director of an electronics firm.
Indeed. But this is what we have learned. Yeah. If I could do well from my diplomatic career to my business career, same I said that to her also, that you can do well. Thank God she did her MBA also in healthcare, so she knows good part of the business rather than only the medical. So she quit also doing practice quite some time ago. So she has been managing the hospitals, and so that's again a profession which she can turn into the entrepreneurial career.
What advice do you have for people who do want to include their family in their business, both in terms of how to keep the family together as well as how to keep the business successful? Because I find oftentimes as businesses succeed, families try to actually professionalize and get their family out of it rather than in it. And many times they have a very difficult time keeping both the family and the business intact. So how did you think about that problem and how did you handle it?
So having reached this stage of my life and this stage of my business, I don't want to force fit my children. Maybe they have some different passion. And also, if I started some business at a long time ago or at certain stage of my life, the children can now step up to something different if they can. This is diversification. They want to continue in the same business, but also add some other different lines of businesses. What was relevant 30 years ago may not be relevant today. What is relevant today may not be relevant 20 years hence. So I would want my family to be in the business to carry the legacy, but also keeping the eyes open for the diversification and also start a business which they like most and where they can take full responsibility of the new line of business. That will inculcate more sense of responsibility and accountability. If they join the existing business, well, the business is already going on well and it's flourishing, so okay, you are enhancing it, no doubt. But would you like to have another one where you test your own capabilities right from scratch?
So it sounds like you're saying, listen, I'm not very concerned with you running the business as it is, but I'm giving you a platform for you to build on. And what I'd love to see is you build it on that platform.
True. And that platform also, by that time, you have certain financial stability and some financial strength to support the new venture of your children. So I would not mind telling my children to start something totally their own, of which they can be more proud and have the more responsibility and accountability of their own venture.
Given we're talking about family, and again, you've mentioned a few times the Sindhi community. I've been in Dubai now since 1995, and it's extraordinary the success the Sindhi community in Dubai has had. So as I look around, most of the very successful Indian business people are Sindhi, which is very interesting because when I was in the US, most of the successful Indian people around me were Gujarati. And so what is it that has made this community so successful here? It seems like a certain marriage that's worked Dubai and Cindy's, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about the secret sauce.
You see, there are certain traits of every community. You see some, we call Marwadis, people coming from Rajasthan. They have also been in the businesses. You don't see Marwadis ever in, not ever, but very rarely you find them in the service sector or in the jobs sector.
Meanwhile, the Keralites, for example, are everywhere in the professional sector, it feels like.
So, by the way, something runs into the family, and then it goes into your psyche. It goes into your psychology. Oh, my father is a businessman, and business is certainly great to pursue, gives you better financial returns, gives you possibly better satisfaction of what you as an individual are doing. When you are in the, for example, government service, there's a massive environment to support you. When you start your own career or business career, all depends upon you really, and how you build it up. So it goes into the psyche and the family tradition and the traits which you see your parents doing, your brothers doing.
But in your case, the parents weren't entrepreneurs, but you feel it's in your blood, irrespective of whether your parents were in it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But this is what I told you. I broke away. Yeah. I'm so grateful to God that I have achieved whatever I have achieved successfully. So, but then some traits of the Sindhi community ran into my blood, which I realized it a little later in my life.
You talked about support. To what extent does the community support each other? Is it close-knit or is it highly competitive with each other? I know a lot of the Sindhi community are in very similar businesses.
Not really. I think all are onto themselves. Somebody may support you initially in a small way, but nobody can or even should support for a very long time. Yeah. I mean, if you are surviving on the support of somebody, it means you don't have your own capabilities. And I think you must primarily depend upon yourself rather than on the help of others.
So since we're on the topic of the Indian community, maybe I'll just segue very quickly into the topic of India, perhaps. I don't know if you heard recently the Prime Minister of Canada gave a speech at the World Economic Forum, which was covered very widely about how the world order is changing. And he used a term I hadn't heard before, which was the middle powers, I think he called it. He was talking about the great powers and then the middle powers, and that the middle powers now have to come together and find their way in this changing world order. Do you think of India today as a great power? You mentioned its economy being the fourth largest in the world and about to become the third largest, or do you think about it as a middle power? And where do you see its trajectory going? You mentioned early on in your diplomatic life you weren't that optimistic, but obviously India's had an amazing growth spurt since those days, and it's become obviously an economic and political power to reckon with. So I'd love to hear a bit about your thoughts about where we are and where we're likely to go. And I know no one knows the future, but as a diplomat, you probably have a closer sense than others do.
You see, India is the oldest civilization on earth. And believe me, a very peaceful community overall. India has been the biggest economy on earth in the beginning of the century, not the century, sorry, the beginning of the Christian calendar of 100, or even before that, before BC, before the whole calendar started. Yeah. So we were number one or number two between China and India for more than 1,000 years. And no modern economy has survived for more than 150 to 200 years. Be that Portuguese, be that Spanish, be that British, be that other European countries, and then, sorry to use this word of hegemony of USA now. But India had sustained for more than 1,000 years to be the number one economy. Now, so there has been a massive civilizational legacy. And I have no doubt that India will once again be one of the top economies of the world. We have been plundered, we have been, sort of looted, if I can use the word, over the past 700, 800, 900 years. Now we have found our own feet, and we are only destined to get back to our civilizational glory of being the number one economy in the world. It will take some time, no doubt, and we are doing this very democratically, which I hope we will be able to achieve the economic growth as we had. But our civilizational base has been very strong, and that is helping us to come back after 200 years of British rule. So we will find our feet. We should become one of the top economies. As I said, third, we should be achieving somewhere around 2028. So I have great faith in the Indian economy, Indian civilization. We call India as the Vishwa Guru, which means the global international guru. We have done it peacefully. Hinduism or Buddhism has been ruling most part of the world, right from Afghanistan to Japan, China, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Korea, very peacefully. We never did it on any coercion. It was voluntary. So I have great faith in our civilization to really regain our economic and civilizational growth.
One of my indicators or bellwethers of where things are going is when you're in a taxi cab or in any country, you ask the cab driver, how are things? And in most parts of the world, when you ask a cab driver how things are, you get a lot of complaints and a pretty bleak picture of the future. The one exception I feel over the last 2 decades were Indian taxi drivers. Every time I would get into a cab with an Indian driver, it was always about India's doing amazing and it's only going to do better. And there was such this level of optimism about the future, which is very telling when sort of the base of the pyramid has such a positive view of the future. It tells you that the economy and people as a whole are moving in the right direction, and it's good to see. We talked a bit about the lifespan of nations just now and how, you can have good times and bad times. I'd love to hear about your personal journey. So you said someone at my age right now, and we talked about you as a 40-year-old. Tell me a bit about how your energy levels, your motivation, your hunger has changed from decade to decade. So, you talked about in your 20s, you didn't have an aspiration to be a millionaire per se, because $1 million seemed like a really large amount. And then obviously you woke up one day and became an entrepreneur. And it sounds like now you're beginning to learn to enjoy life outside of work a bit more. And I'm just wondering about where those inflection points are. And are they purely decisions, or are they also a fact of life that at a certain age, people's motivations change irrespective of what decisions they make?
You see, I tell you honestly, age is a number. If I can divulge, I have crossed 80 years of my life. I find every day a new day. I see every new day of an opportunity. Whenever you go up, you go up. But till that time, God has given you life on this earth. You must make it useful, not only to yourself, to the people around you, to the society, to your employee partners. I want to use the gift of the grace cells which God has provided to me till the last day of my life. So if you see every day as a day of opportunity, a day of contributing something to the society, to the nation where you are, I find UAE as an amazing place to work. With God's grace, the rulers here are so benevolent and so kind and so forward-looking. The relationship between India and UAE is absolutely extraordinary, very unique, very comprehensive. I have been a diplomat and I have never seen this type of unique relationship between the two nations where we collaborate, cooperate, and see everything with a very positive attitude. So we are in a very great place where we are allowed to work usefully, contribute to the society, contribute to the growth of the country where we are working, we are living. So this is a great opportunity. I feel that everybody must use the days of his life productively rather than being the couch potato or watching television.
I heard you say somewhere else, you can rest, but you can't trust. And I love that. That's a great quote.
Absolutely. No, I think I pray God that I pass off with the shoes on rather than being on the bed.
And are you still motivated by the same things? So, for example, you still wake up in the morning excited about going to the office, or are other things now exciting you? Do you care about opening new businesses and developing new opportunities, or do you feel that's the realm of your children today, and your realm is perhaps creating closer relationships?
No, I see wherever there's an opportunity, I would take initiative.
You would.
However, I keep it in mind that there should be somebody to continue this. That's very important.
Right.
I have been opening entirely new businesses. I'm in deep technology, which is not my realm of strength, but I have gone into it and I want to see it successful. So there are newer lines totally. One must try, and life is to experiment. Life is to then make it successful. That's the bottom line. You may find some challenges, you may find some bumps, but how you tackle those with your own brains or with the support of some other professionals, achieving it and concluding it successfully is most important.
Mr. Shahdadpuri, this has been a tremendously inspirational conversation. In Arabic, we have this word fitra, and fitra is about what naturally exists in you. And I think you validated today in the conversation that success in entrepreneurship isn't necessarily a learned skill. It's almost born inside of you. And if you have the ability to sit and think and ponder the problems and meditate and have the right attitude, it feels like you can do almost anything. And in your case, it seems like you have done almost everything, from trading commodities to building a super successful electronics business, and then now going out into so many additional lines, and also bring your family into that and keeping that all together. So I thank you for inspiring me, and hopefully everyone who's listening to this with this wonderful story. And I can't wait to continue to hear of your amazing successes and hopefully to celebrate them with you. So thank you.
Certainly. Thank you very much. I must say that every single individual has tremendous capacity to do most of the things in life. It's only your passion, your determination, your planning how you do, and understand your own capacities, and then to see how you are able to conclude that business successfully. Everybody has the capacity. Everybody has the strength, and the so it is all up to you how you conduct yourself. Thank you very much for having me, and it was a pleasure to be with you.
The pleasure is entirely mine. Thank you.
Thank you.